movers and shakers, and welcome to our first episode of the video recorded Moving Mountains podcast. I'm Carice,
And I'm Jordan.
and thank you for joining us. So, today, well, a lot of you might have remembered or have been listening to our audio version of the podcast, and a few persons requested to see us in person. So, here we are. So Jardine, so we haven't really made an actual plan of what we're going to be talking about, but we really wanted persons to get an understanding of why we decided to start this podcast, some things that we hope to talk about here. We started with the audio on the fruits of the spirit, and it has been good. We have been able to share some tidbits that have been very inspiring to persons. But of course, it's scripted, so we wanted to have a video version that is more free flowing, so that we can be more conversational. And we also want it to be more interactive, so that our audience will feel more comfortable sharing information with us and also asking or requesting topics that we could talk about. All right, Charlie.
Yes, so we want this movement, as you know, the name of this podcast is Moving Mountains JA. And so we wanted this movement to be as interactive as it can be. And so, as Carissa was saying, that persons were requesting video content. And so finally we've got to the place where we could provide that for our listeners. And as Carrie said earlier, we just want our viewers and our subscribers and persons who are on this journey with us to be as interactive in the comments and just responding to us and responding to the messages that we're sharing so far.
And we had actually started, like, before we started the sound recording. We used to do
On Instagram.
on Instagram. Yes, we used to do a Bible class on Instagram. Was it Thursday night?
I believe it was Thursday night.
Thursday night, and we got a few persons who used to join us. So I guess some persons are familiar with us in this light, of course. So yeah, probably someday we will go back to doing that again. But of course, because we try to stick to that night, and something might happen that night, and
And
with
internet
this
issues.
internet issues and things like that, because we live in the country.
Yeah, so we were having a lot of issues with Wi-Fi connection. And so that kind of threw off a lot of the sessions.
Yeah.
And so we made a plan to do the audio sessions that we were doing in studios.
But it wasn't just, we were planning to do it as video first, but then we said, because we don't have like the equipment with the audio, and then we were planning, can we use our phone? But then one person who actually has a studio,
Yeah.
so we decided to use that person for a while, and then persons asked for the video content. Still don't have the equipment, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah. There's no right time to start.
There's no
And-
right time is now. Yes.
So as Curtis was just sharing why we started this movement, and we wanted to do it for years.
Yeah.
We always wanted to do
I'm
it
like
for
straight
years.
out of college, like
Yeah.
I probably from as early as what is that, 2017 to 2018. So it's been a long time coming. So if you really wait until when you think is the right time,
You never
and
start.
you never start. And sometimes that's a tactic of the enemy as well.
Yeah.
And I see it in my personal life, people close to me, sometimes they want to do certain things, but because they don't have this yet, they don't have that yet, they spend a lot of time investing into getting these things, and sometimes you're giving the enemy room to actually damn you and create disappointment as well, because you're saying, because I can't get this, I can't do this. When sometimes you actually have enough to start, but because it's not going to be the way you want it to look or feel in the first, in the first episode or in the first go at it, you wait and you put it off and you put it off, and by the time you turn to the time you're 40, it's been 20 years.
Waste a lot of time.
And you waste a lot of time that you could have used to just start And then, because sometimes you might start something and or you want to do something for so long, and then when you start to realize, okay, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. So, can you imagine if you really sit down and wait 10, 15, 20 years before you start something, and then you realize that probably something else was your ministry. But we really think this is something that we're supposed to be doing, and we put it off for a long time. So we really want to start sharing now.
Amen. So we just want to share our aim
Yeah.
for moving to Grace. What's our aim?
Well, as the name suggests, we know that the word or the title Moving Mountains comes from the Bible verse, right? In the Bible verse.
Where's Jesus?
Yeah.
If our faith is as small as a mustard seed, we shall point to the mountain and it shall be cast on the sea.
Yes. So moving mountains, it's about basically faith building. Well, that is the basis of it. Having faith in God, believing in what God says, and believing that you can actually accomplish anything once it's in the will of God. So that's really about it. We are living in a world right now that is being tried with a lot of suicide rates are up. People depression, especially in our age group, in our amongst young people. I'm not saying just young people, but it's very critical, especially around 20s, early, even not in the 20s, from teen years, even children, but say from teen years into early 20s, even up to mid 30s, most persons are just figuring it out. And sometimes whenever things are not going your way and things like that, a lot of persons tend to start having depression and anxiety, and that eventually can lead to persons just giving up and probably turning to if it's violence or certain kinds of lifestyles that we know are wrong, or some persons just decide to end it all. And we really want to have a program where we can be a source of encouragement, and not just through our own wisdom, but through the wisdom of God. Yeah. So our podcast, as many of you can remember, is designed to educate, elevate, and eradicate. Educate you on ideals relevant to living and operating as a beacon of light in what is oftentimes a dark world. Elevate your mindsets that you may attain greater success in your professional and social life. Eradicate concepts that have developed into cultural and social norms, whilst they suffocate the progress and process necessary for greatness in our people. Alright, so what do you think that means? Or enlighten our audience on what we really wanted to capture from saying all of that?
Just going into COVID and going into the pandemic, there was just so much chaos that was going on in the world.
Yes.
And it no matter how mature you are as a believer, I think COVID-19 tested everyone. And I feel that season of testing tried its best to really crown the word of God and to paralyze the word of God. And moving into GA, just the aim that we have was to resurrect the word that we have inside of us and to remind us and to encourage us and to inspire us that despite what we're going through, the word of God can do anything, and the word of God is very important.
Well, today we're just really going to be talking broadly, but there are a few things that we hope to discuss throughout the length of our program. God will determine how long it will go on for and ensure that He keeps us fit to execute it. Yes, and grounded to execute it so that it can move from strength to strength. But we have recognized a few key issues in our society, and there are a few things that we want to focus on. We listed some topics. Can you share some of them?
So we had here youth living for God.
Yeah.
Having faith in a time of mass suicide and depression. relationships, career, self-development, endurance, marriage and dating, sex, money management, and that's just a few of the topics that we will be tapping into. Yes. So something that we want to leave with our listeners and our viewers, is that because we're not just for believers.
No, no.
You know, we were once unbelievers, and so we will never just speak to believers as if we don't know where we are coming from and the journey. And so, you know, we're just encouraging people to give God their heart. And I always say to my friends again, just come to church. Just make a sacrifice to be in the presence of God. And not just church, but just make a sacrifice to be in time for God. And something will happen. Just give God your heart, and the rest of it will come in time. It was not overnight. For me, it wasn't overnight. And I'm sure for others, it was not overnight. And for others who are on their way and haven't arrived as a people, it will not be overnight. So it's just an encouragement to unbelievers, and as well as believers, this movement is for growth, right? Because I believe that there are many who are of God, but they haven't arrived. As in, Moving Mountains GA want to strengthen believers and also assist unbelievers in possible.
Alright, so I think that's it for this episode. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you guys next week for another exciting episode. Remember that Moving Mountains is on Instagram at Moving Mountains GA, and also we are on YouTube at Moving Mountains GA. So please join us every week. We're trying as much as possible to give you an episode every week. So try as possible to be with us every week as well. Thank you guys for joining us, and see you next time.